Welcome to Trending Unpacked, where we explore the stories that everyone's searching for, one trend at a time. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a case that, well, it continues to captivate and haunt nearly 3 decades later, the baffling disappearance of Amy Lynn Bradley. This isn't just another missing persons case. It's really a story that taps into our deepest fears about safety, the unknown, and maybe the remarkable power of the internet to keep a mystery alive long after any physical trail seems to have run cold.
It's true. And the enduring mystery of Amy's disappearance carries, well, just an immense emotional weight. Not just for her family, obviously, but for anyone who really encounters her story. It starkly highlights a very real and often hidden danger, especially when people are in environments they think are inherently secure, like a luxury cruise liner.
Right. That sense of safety can be deceptive.
Exactly. The sense of invulnerability on a ship like that, it can be a comfort, but maybe a deceptive one.
Absolutely. So, our mission today is to thoroughly unpack the timeline of that fateful trip, explore the chilling and, frankly, persistent theories that have emerged over the years, and really try to understand why this story continues to trend so powerfully. What does it reveal about maybe our collective fascination with the unexplained, especially when it happens far from shore, in those kind of unique spaces where legal jurisdictions become, well, fuzzy? Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine, the perfect family vacation. You're cruising through the idyllic Caribbean, sun on your face, worries miles away. Now imagine waking up one morning to find one of your loved ones is simply gone. That's really the core of Amy Lynn Bradley's story. She was a vibrant 23-year-old American traveling with her family, her parents, Ron and Iva, and her brother Brad, on what should have been, well, a dream cruise. But everything changed, completely changed, on March 24th, 1998. That was the day she disappeared from the Royal Caribbean cruise ship, the Rhapsody of the Seas. The ship was en route to Curacao at the time. Her last confirmed sighting was pretty early, around 5:30 in the morning. She was seen on the ship's balcony, specifically on the ninth deck, after a night of dancing and, socializing at the ship's disco with her brother. Then, just a mere half an hour later, around 6 a.m., her family discovered she wasn't in their cabin. Her father, Ron, actually recalled seeing her briefly out on the balcony just before she vanished.
Yeah, and what's truly critical here, what forever altered the trajectory of this investigation is the immediate context of that discovery. When her family realized Amy was gone, the Rhapsody of the Seas was already, right in the process of docking in Curacao.
Already docking. Wow.
Yes, and this created a critical, you could say irreversible delay. Port authorities and external law enforcement were not notified immediately. The ship's internal security, they did an initial search, which, okay, was standard for the time, but it was absolutely not the same thing as a full-scale police investigation kicking off right away.
Right, you lose that golden hour, or hours even.
Exactly. This lost time, those crucial minutes and hours as the ship docked and prepared for, passengers to disembark, it profoundly hampered the initial search efforts. On land, if someone goes missing, a report triggers immediate coordinated action across agencies, usually. But at sea, especially in international waters, the jurisdiction is often unclear. It can be fragmented or just slow to mobilize. This delay meant that any potential evidence, any witnesses who might have seen something crucial, they could have just walked off that ship without being questioned. So despite what quickly turned into an extensive search and investigation involving multiple agencies, Amy Lynn Bradley was, tragically, never found. And the ship itself, well, it was allowed to proceed to its next destination after only a, let's say, superficial search, which just compounded the frustration for the family.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting and honestly incredibly unsettling. We move beyond the known facts of her disappearance into the realm of, well, terrifying possibilities. The core theory that has persisted for decades, and it's fueled by a series of really disturbing accounts, is that Amy may have been kidnapped and potentially trafficked. And these aren't just idle rumors floating around online. There have been multiple unconfirmed sightings reported over the years that lend a chilling kind of weight to this very dark possibility. Can you even imagine the torment for her family, living with these glimpses of hope, but tinged with just unimaginable horror? Reports claim she was seen in Curacao not just once, but several times. First, apparently in August 1998, just months after she vanished, then again in 1999.
Right. That 1999 sighting was by a Canadian tourist who swore she saw a woman looking like Annie with two men on a beach there.
And then there was a much more specific account in 2005. A U.S. Navy officer who was traveling off-duty at the time claimed he saw a woman he was absolutely convinced was Amy.
In a department store restroom, wasn't it?
Yes, exactly. In a restroom in Curacao, she was apparently with two men, had tattoos similar to Amy's, which she seemed to be trying to hide. And he reported her saying something like, "They made me do it," before being quickly, escorted away by the men. These sightings were by people considered credible witnesses, which gives them significant weight, even if they ultimately couldn't be, definitively confirmed.
Hmm.
And then there's the really disturbing digital evidence that surfaced years later. An email received by a family friend apparently showed a photograph of a woman who strongly resembled Amy in what looked like a photo from an adult website.
That photo is incredibly troubling.
It is. The family believes it was her, which further suggests, a forced disappearance, some kind of exploitation.
Hmm.
That idea really sends shivers down your spine that she might be out there alive, but trapped somewhere.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, these types of persistent sightings, especially when combined with that really unsettling photo, are precisely why these theories persist so strongly in the public consciousness. The notion that she might have tried to escape or even signaled for help but was held against her will, that taps into a very deep, almost universal fear of vanishing without a trace.
It's different from an accident.
Absolutely. It's one thing to disappear accidentally, maybe fall overboard tragically, but the idea of being held somewhere against your will, trying to signal for help, that's a nightmare scenario that just resonates with everyone. It implies a much darker, more sinister narrative.
Yeah.
And while these reports, we have to stress, remain unconfirmed, and eyewitness accounts can be notoriously unreliable sometimes, due to time passing and suggestibility.
Yeah.
They undeniably highlight the perilous, sort of dark side of international waters. This is where you get a patchwork of maritime laws, the absence of immediate unified jurisdiction. It can create a kind of legal vacuum, which tragically makes exploitation potentially easier to conceal. This isn't like a disappearance on land where, local police have immediate and clear authority.
Right.
At sea, jurisdiction is fluid. It often depends on the ship's flag, the nationality of the victim, the precise location of the incident, which could be thousands of miles from any sovereign territory. This legal gray area, it just provides fertile ground for organized crime or even individuals to operate with relative impunity, making cases like Amy's exceptionally difficult to solve.
So, okay, what does this all mean for us today? Why does a case from, wow, nearly 3 decades ago with no definitive answers keep resurfacing, keep trending with such intensity? It's not just a historical mystery, is it? It feels incredibly current sometimes.
No, not at all. And you see this case resurfacing with remarkable frequency on platforms like Reddit, TikTok, various YouTube true crime channels.
Oh, yeah, it's huge on those platforms.
Exactly. This is where that internet sleuth culture truly takes hold in its most powerful and sometimes maybe most challenging form. You have people dedicating countless hours, days, even years, just poring over every single detail, every archived news report, every grainy photo.
Looking for that one thing.
Right. Hoping to find that one clue that maybe was missed by official channels, that one connection that could possibly unlock the entire mystery. It's become like a grassroots global investigation that just never truly sleeps. And this raises an important question, I think, about our collective psyche. The Amy Bradley case, it really exemplifies a recurring, almost primal fear of vanishing without a trace, especially when it happens in international waters, far from the perceived safety nets of home. It's a fear made terrifyingly real. It demonstrates just how quickly someone can be separated from everything they know, even in supposedly secure environments like a cruise ship. The mystery itself is a powerful hook, sure, but it also reflects a deeper societal anxiety about control and vulnerability.
And beyond just the personal fears, it also shines a pretty harsh spotlight on some significant systemic issues, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
There's been a lot of criticism over the years regarding cruise ship safety protocols, specifically for handling missing passengers and what many people perceive as a lack of clear law enforcement oversight when you're out in international waters. Amy's family, in particular, they've been incredibly vocal advocates for change. This isn't just about Amy for them anymore. It's about the security of every single passenger on these floating cities.
Right, and the case did prompt discussions, certainly, around the Cruise Ship Safety and Security Act in the U.S. It highlighted the need for much clearer reporting requirements and, crucially, better investigative authority for crimes committed at sea.
Plus, you see renewed public interest in cases like Amy's constantly being fueled by, the explosion of true crime content everywhere.
Oh, definitely.
Podcasts, Netflix documentaries, looking at similar disappearances. Each new piece of content, whether it's a deep dive into cold cases or a broader look at maritime mysteries, it has the potential to reignite public discussion. It brings fresh eyes to unsolved puzzles like Amy's, even if new facts aren't immediately, emerging.
Yeah, it keeps the story in the public eye, basically, prevents it from just fading into obscurity.
Hmm.
And from a cultural impact perspective, Amy's story has really become a kind of touchstone. It's often cited in discussions of missing persons cases, particularly those involving women abroad or specifically on cruise ships. Her case is sometimes even used directly in advocacy work, pushing for better cruise passenger protections, for clearer jurisdictional lines, for mandatory reporting protocols that ensure incidents like Amy's are handled with the urgency and transparency they deserve right from the moment someone is reported missing.
Right, that immediate response.
Exactly. And as you mentioned before, the internet sleuths play an absolutely crucial role here. They don't just investigate clues and dissect theories online. They work tirelessly to keep the story alive. They share updates, potential leads, new theories across their networks. And this really speaks to our collective desire for closure, doesn't it? Not just for the victims' families, but for a sense of justice in a world where some mysteries, frustratingly, just refuse to be solved. The digital age has given these cold cases a longevity and a public forum that simply didn't exist before.
Exactly. So this case, it isn't just some historical mystery confined to dusty archives. It's really a living example of how the internet keeps stories alive, how those primal fears about travel and vulnerability persist, and how we as a society kind of grapple with those unsettling, unresolved questions that gnaw at our sense of security and justice. It reminds us that even in our hyper-connected world, true disappearance is somehow still a terrifying possibility. The disappearance of Amy Lynn Bradley remains, well, like an open wound in the public consciousness, a kind of ghost ship sailing through our collective memory. It truly makes you wonder, doesn't it? In an age of constant connection, omnipresent cameras, digital footprints tracing almost everything we do, how is it still possible for someone to simply vanish without a trace? And what responsibility do we, maybe as a global community, bear to prevent such disappearances, to learn from these tragic gaps in our systems, and to pursue justice in these unsettling, deeply personal mysteries, even decades later? Next time on Trending Unpacked,
Yeah.
we're getting our hands dirty, literally, as we dig into why people are Googling swamp potatoes.
Yep.
It's a thing.